Welcome to TypeScript FM, the friendly podcast for TypeScript developers where we bring you news, updates, and interviews from the community with plenty of tomfoolery sprinkled in. I'm your host, Kamran Ayub, and I'm joined by my co-host and best bud, Eric Onerheim. Together, we're the two TypeScript fools. Welcome to the show. Yeah, so I got to hold this microphone so it feels like I'm at a stand-up show right now.
You kind of are.
Welcome to TypeScript FM.
TypeScript FM, where the types are made up and the JavaScript doesn't matter.
Yep, that's right. I'm in this Airbnb. If you can hear that, that's like just someone walking upstairs. This is an old house.
We're kind of recording in a weird way today, and we've got sleeping children nearby.
There's sleeping kids. There's other adults in this Airbnb upstairs. I'm in like the basement office, and the mount that I brought for my microphone is the wrong mount, so I'm just holding it to my face.
Maybe we'll have one of the rare video moments, and we'll show the video of you holding your mic.
That would be funny. I've been on vacation, so obviously I'm at this Airbnb. We're in Denver. We went to the zoo this week, and today just got back from ascending to 12,000 feet in elevation, the highest point around here at the Alpine Visitor Center at the Rocky Mountain National Park.
Are you feeling a little lightheaded?
We were. All of us sort of felt something when we were up there, so we didn't want to stay too long. We did the little short hike to the top of the ridge, so we got to see some elk. That was really cool.
Whoa.
Yeah, we didn't see any black bears, and my wife is like dying to see a moose. Like, if she sees a moose, that'll be the best thing that's ever happened to her in like the past 25 years. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, you just gotta go further north.
Besides the kids, she really wants to see a moose.
In northern Minnesota, there are moose, so it is very attainable.
Yeah. The moose apparently are all over the place, but we did not see one at all. But we're going back to the park tomorrow, so we'll see if we can spot some.
Yeah, if you spot a moose, make sure you take a photo, but do not attempt to pet the moose. Like one tourist I saw in Yellowstone.
Oh my God, no way! Like
the park ranger was like, no,
trying to pet like a bison or something.
Yeah, I think it might have been a bison. I don't think it was a moose. I think it was a bison. Yeah, don't pet a bison. They're not. They're a wild animal.
Yep.
They are not a pet.
They will trample you.
They will end you.
They will.
You will be an ex-tourist.
Yep. I knew someone that was gored by one and survived.
No way.
Yeah, they tried to run up a tree, but they were not fast enough. Or like it actually climbed the tree a little bit to get them. Yeah. Not good.
Well, I've got a new microphone.
Yeah, you sound great. You sound good.
My birthday gift to myself. It's the Shure MV7 Plus. It's basically what you see in everyone's podcast videos. The like cylindrical kind of conic outline.
Is it
not very exciting?
Like the one on our podcast cover?
No, it's here. I'll lift it up and then I'll edit out the sound of me lifting it up. And it lights up, and it like I can turn this off, but it'll light up according to my voice.
That's cool.
And I have, for the first time ever, I'm using a monitor, so I can hear myself talk in my headphones, which is actually super useful for gauging my volume, because then I don't like get too loud and wake up a child.
Mm-hmm.
So that's actually been pretty cool. But birthday gift to myself, new microphone. I also got a bunch of computer equipment with it to make it like the best setup ever. I'll be messing with that a little bit. So we'll see what happens there. This week I've been sucked into a new special interest. I've been installing Arch Linux.
Oh,
I'm becoming that guy.
It's your year of the Linux desktop.
It's Eric's year of the Linux desktop, where he throws himself into work that is distracting from the work that he should be doing in order to rice his Hyperland Linux setup so that it looks like Cyberpunk 2020 or 2077. Nice. Or what is it, 2077? Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
In other news, in the work I should be doing, I have made a lot of progress on an Excalibur playground. Like, I've got something working. I don't know if it's very secure, but it will run TypeScript in the browser and make an Excalibur game in the browser.
Sweet.
And I did it in 4 hours of concerted effort. There is a blog post, I think, in here because Monaco, the code editor for VS Code that powers that, it's open source. It's also really awful to use. So I think there's definitely a blog post there. So if you want to build your own editor or have like code integration in your tool, which you might have like a scripting integration in your tool, totally reasonable to do. And JavaScript is a great way to add extensibility to an app, especially for like power users. And if you're doing like a low code, no code type thing, this is a way you could extend that. But anyway, made a lot of progress. I'm really pleased. I'm going to spend some more time over my birthday, really like honing that. I took the entire week of my birthday off. That was my other birthday gift to myself.
Wonderful. So that'll be a lot of fun. And by the way, for the audience, this playground is like a sort of like the TypeScript playground, except it's the Excalibur playground. So it has like, or will have like a canvas to the side of it so you can see the game running side by side with the code snippet.
Yeah, I'll add a little video. It's nothing pretty yet, but I'll add a little video in the show notes.
Yep, so we're excited about that because we can integrate that onto the website, and it's something that we wanted to do in the docs for a while.
Awesome. Let's get into the news.
Sweet. News. Deno has some big news. What's new in 2.4, Eric?
Well, one of the big things that they took out in Deno 2, and I think in Deno 1, is they removed the bundler because they were having a hard time kind of squaring that circle while also trying to deliver really good, server-side software. Okay, how does Deno like live in a world where there's like best-in-class bundlers out there? So now they have Deno Bundle returning, now powered by ESBuild. It can easily create single-file JS-TS bundles for the server or the browser with benefication and tree shaking. This is kind of great for your React and your NPM JSR type dependencies that you're doing. Yep. This is kind of like, I got something simple that I'm going to do. Doesn't need all the bells and whistles. I just need something to bundle this script together. I'm not doing anything magical. I think that's where this like integrated tool chain really is going to shine, is having just a bundler at your fingertips on the command line with Deno Bundle, and you can just get going.
Yeah, the demo that they show is pretty simple. Like, there's no extra config or anything. You're just executing Deno Bundle against the TypeScript file. It outputs a bundle.js file. They reference it from an index.html along with React, and you have your hello React application. So there's no server running or anything. I mean, you have to serve it. So they show using the Deno file server to like serve the file over HTTP. But it's a static site. It's just serving the index.html file and the bundle.js.
Yeah. Another cool thing in Deno 2.4 is import text and import bytes directly into your modules is now supported with import attributes. Remember, there was the ES 2025 import attribute that has been standardized, and that's the import attribute JSON. Deno has two non-standard ones, as far as I know, text and bytes. So you can just import a file as just raw text, which, you might want if you're like importing like another programming language, for example, like you're importing like a shader, like you're going to do some compute shading. You're going to import some GLSL or some Wigzl and do some, compute with a GPU, or you have some bytes that like maybe it's a model of some kind. You're importing a huge byte array, or you've got like an image binary you're going to load up and do something to it. Yeah, it's cool stuff. It's definitely something that I'm excited about. And it works with Deno Compile for embedding assets, which is very exciting.
I think that's the pretty cool part. And we talked about this last week. We teased it because of a blue sky Bweet or whatever. I don't want to say the other word. It's a Bweet.
I like Bweet. We're going to call them Bweets.
But yeah, so now it's stable inside of 2.4, so that's cool. The other now stable feature that we've covered a bunch already, it's been experimental, is open telemetry. So if you can enable it through the config or an environment variable, OTEL Deno equals 1, that will enable observability and tracing with a single variable. So now you can get open telemetry integrated.
This is probably the biggest thing. If you were going to run a programming language in production and you have services that talk to each other, you need some form of tracing. Like, I don't know how people do it. Like, I talk to someone and they're like, oh, we just look at our logs and just scratch our heads. It's game changing. Like, you can literally open up your dashboard when there's a problem and you immediately know where the problem is with distributed tracing and open telemetry. It is a must have feature.
Yep, I agree. That's how I debug my SaaS app. And I don't know what I would do without that. I can't even imagine trying to log into the VM and like tailing the Docker logs to try and go find out what the error was that was being thrown.
I will tell you, if I'm looking at the logs, it's because all of my other systems have failed me, and that is the last resort.
Yes, I do. I agree because I do have to do it. It's like sometimes I do have to get into the Docker container, but it's definitely as a last resort because the distributed tracing should be running like all the time. So.
Yeah, and you can add more to your traces too. So you can add custom attributes and stuff. So, which is way more powerful than logs because now you can correlate. You can correlate like different requests with actual like information versus like trying to do like, okay, did this request make this log message, and having to like, compare whatever ID, synthetic ID you created in your own system to try and make it work. Use OTEL.
Yes.
Now there's a new -- preload flag, which allows you to execute code before your main script. This is super useful if you're building like your own platform and you need to modify globals, load data, connect to databases, install dependencies, provide other APIs. So this is super slick. Like, say you're setting up like a DI container, you need to do your database connections. I think this is going to be super useful in like kind of that serverless zone. And that's where I think, they don't say this in their blog post, but I think that's where this is kind of angling, is like you want to have this setup stage where you're not necessarily billed for that time, or you're billed at a cheaper rate wherein your tasks are warming up. And then you can reuse these tasks with all of this setup code pre-warmed. I think they don't say that in the post, but that's when I see something like this, I'm thinking like Lambdas.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. It seems like you could have your provider setup code. So like if you have multiple serverless functions and they all depend on whatever environment variables, you can set those all up beforehand or set up any connections and things like that.
Next up is Deno Update, which is pretty awesome. It is kind of like a bigger, badder NPM update. It'll just allow you to either A, straight up ignore Semver constraints and just do Deno update -- latest and get all of your packages to the latest version. And, because sometimes you want to do that and you're like, devil may care. And you're like, you know what?
It's been a while. I just need to get it all up to date.
I don't want to play this game where I'm whack-a-mole thing. I just want to take my lumps all at once.
Yep.
You can also update based on a wildcard. So you can say Deno update, some scope / do something like that. Cool. Super useful, especially like for me, like when I'm doing Docusaurus, there's 4 million packages. So you could do something like that. Or you could go through your entire workspace and do a Deno update recursive, and it'll just trickle down and update all your stuff.
Ooh,
pretty neat.
That's neat.
Super cool stuff.
I always get the Deno update and Deno upgrade mixed up.
Me too. They're very similar semantically to me. Like, honestly, you probably could swap them one for one and it would still like semantically make sense for what they each do. Like you could have update Deno, the Deno version instead of the packages, and upgrade do the thing. And Yeah, either one. I don't know how. There's got to be a mnemonic device for this. Maybe Deno update. There's a P in it. No, they both have P in it. I don't
Yep.
know. I don't know how to remember it other than to do the wrong one first and then
Yeah,
and do the right one.
that's right.
It's like when your parent calls you by the wrong name and
Hmm.
they have to iterate through all of the children they have before they get to your name.
I've definitely done that multiple times this trip. I've definitely done that.
You know, I only have one child and I've called her the name of our cat.
Yep. Hmm. Yep.
So there's that. We have better tsconfig support. They have improved handling of references, extends, include, exclude, much smoother experience with frameworks like Vue, Svelte, Solid, and Quick. There's improved Node.js compatibility, which we like to see. And this is a thing that we kind of predicted. This is going to be every, JavaScript, TypeScript runtime is going to be angling for this because Node.js is the incumbent and you would be a fool to not have compatibility. But they've added node globals like buffer, global, set immediate, and they're improving compatibility with the Node API as they move forward. And I think this, comparing, different runtimes with one another, I think is going to be less and less of a big deal as they all are racing towards Node.js compatibility where it makes sense. So I'd say roughly 99% of your stuff will probably work anywhere you're trying to run it.
Yeah, there was a Blue Sky thread on this because if you take a look at the actual compatibility page that they have, you can see that overall it's probably like 75% or something, but it's like 99% of like the most used stuff. So people were chiming in saying, even though it's not 100% and not even like, 80%, I haven't had any issues with what I've been working on. So, but that still means that there can still be edge cases and stuff, right?
Yeah, I did some random Twitch API code that I stole from someone else, and I had it running in Deno immediately.
Mhm.
I changed like to like Deno serve, and that was the change. Like, and it worked. So
Yep.
nothing too wild there. It's pretty low effort to make things work, especially for those smaller scripts. I think for like a bigger project, then you're probably in for more effort, I'd say.
Hmm.
Some other cool things that they've added. There's some permission improvements, which I'm going to go look at their blog post to see what they're talking about there.
Yeah, this is the AI summary, so I'd go look.
Ooh, this is interesting. The allow net flag now supports subdomain wildcards and CIDR ranges.
Ooh,
Let's see, CIDR
Apple
stands
cider.
for classless inter-domain routing. It's when you can specify. I think that's. Hold on, let me see what it actually stands for before I make a fool of myself on the internet again. Oh my God, I got it right. Classless inter-domain routing. I did get it right. But this is the thing where you want to specify a range of IPs with like a bit mask. So the way that you do it is like you might do 169.10 slash 16, which means those first 16 bits are fixed and then the rest are wild. So that's how you might specify like a huge range of addresses if you needed to do such a thing. A lot of times you'll do much smaller ranges than slash 16. But yeah, that's super cool. The allow import flag has also been changed. You can now add a deny import flag to explicitly block certain hosts. So if you're like, you know what, I don't like the CDN JS deliver it, or I don't like raw GitHub user content.com because reasons, you can just go ahead and do that. So for any of those import specifiers that are using HTTPS import specifiers, you can just go ahead and say, no, thank you. Like, I want you to use like the new way of doing things with the Deno.json
Yep,
and using JSR.
nice.
That's super cool.
Well, people can go read the blog post to check out all the other highlights and stuff that they have.
Yeah, there's quite a list. So definitely check out the blog post. And if I miss something important, let me know. But
Just yell at us,
yeah,
on our Blue Sky.
yeah, and we'll make sure that we cover it.
Next, we have a PSA, public service announcement. If you're on Next.js, you're going to want to take a look and upgrade your Next.js version and dependencies because there was a CVE vulnerability. Let's read the details here.
Looks like it's a cache poisoning bug that leads to a denial of service condition. Yikes.
Looks like you are not impacted if you are hosted on Vercel. But if you're self-hosting, then you're going to be impacted here. Yeah, it says if you're using the affected version of Next.js and you either have a route using cache revalidation with incremental static regeneration, and so it's both. So you have to have a route using cache revalidation with incremental static regeneration or ISR, and a route using SSR with a CDN configured to cache 204 responses.
Okay, so maybe a little specific, or maybe that's as a person who doesn't know Next very well, maybe that isn't very specific, and that's very common.
I think it would be common if you're hosting a static site, is my guess. That you would usually configure stuff that way. Yeah, if you're hosting a static site, that has SSR generation, because incremental static regeneration uses the server to regenerate after a certain invalidation. You can do a timeout or whatever. Once it's invalidated, it'll get cached. I think basically if you're using ISR, you're probably going to be affected by this.
Okay, let's go into some community highlights.
I saw, and we mentioned before, that Node.js is celebrating Pride Month with LGBTQIA plus stories. So the first one that they have is for Amelia Smith, and this was a great bio sketch, I thought. And if you're not familiar with Amelia's contributions, they made one of the largest change. I'm just reading from the blog post. The largest change I made to Node.js was splitting up the documentation into multiple files and pages, because prior to this change, all the documentation had been in a single large page only. So we have the multiple page documentation thanks to Amelia. So thank you.
All right, another really cool thing from the community is modern Node.js patterns for 2025. So if you, like me, wrote Node.js a decade ago, and you're like, I wonder what changed.
A lot of things.
A lot of stuff in the last decade has changed. In fact, JavaScript seems to only be accelerating in changes, but they go through and talk about all of the big ways in which things have changed. Obviously, the biggest thing is ESM, which we've probably hammered to death, but this is the new standardized module system. Before that, had to come up with their own thing, and they came up with Common.js, which has served us pretty well. It had a lot of desirable properties and a lot of undesirable ones. It wasn't the module system we deserved, but it's the one we got. Definitely take a look at that. And then they also talk about how you can use the built-in APIs to reduce external dependencies. So you don't need to get a library to do fetch anymore. There's just fetch built in.
You don't need watch. You don't need .env to do environment variables. You don't need a test runner. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you don't need anymore. You don't need you don't need Axios to do fetch or node fetch anymore either, because NDC, I don't know how to pronounce it, the Italian word NDC is their new core fetch stuff, and that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And I think we had a blog post talking about how that all works.
Yes.
And it's actually pretty cool under the hood, like what they did to make that really fast. Also, they have built-in testing now, so you don't need to get a test framework. There's just a built-in test framework into Node. And I think you'll see this in a lot of the runtimes. A lot of them are having this, built-in test framework, which is kind of just makes sense. You want an opinion about how to test software on your runtime. So I think it just makes a lot of sense. We also have async await and in Node, which for a long time there was only callbacks. So that's a new thing. And I think all of the APIs now have an async version. There's also, if you haven't looked at async iterators, they're super, super wild. It's basically a way of pulling events off of this iterator. These infinite events can just come to you. So it's absolutely wild. It's a really cool way of processing events. Really neat.
Yeah, and I think they also talk about worker threads to do multi-threading.
Yes. So, when people tell you that JavaScript is single-threaded, that's not quite true. Worker threads are the way to do it. And web workers are the abstraction here. So you'll look at worker threads here, and they look like a lot like a web worker. So it's pretty neat.
Yeah. Hey, did your talk come out yet?
No, I wish it did. But a lot of the NDC Oslo talks from that conference in 2025 in late May, early June, I've already forgotten, are starting to roll out. And there's two big ones that I want to highlight. One of them is TypeRox, the YouTuber, Christian Wars. I think that's how you say his last name. But he did a talk that I attended in person. I am in the audience in this YouTube link where he goes into advanced TypeScript, a live coding expedition. And wow, is he quick on his feet. He gets through a lot of topics really fast. And I actually got a lot of ideas from this. So definitely check out that talk.
Nice.
And this is not necessarily related to TypeScript, but we talked about how much I loved the keynote by Layla, Control Shift Build Pause. So I included a link to that as well. But those talks are trickling out, and trust me, you'll hear very loudly when I know that my talk is ready.
Well, yeah, hopefully you can just just subscribe to the YouTube channel and you'll get notified when Eric's talk gets released.
Yeah. And another cool thing on YouTube, Deno just posted a video, kind of a refresher on how the npm specifiers work. You know, when you're doing your import from npm package, and why these things are awesome. So, you know, as compared to HTTP import scripts, which was cool, but had some downsides. Like, for example, like if you had any kind of like scripts that needed to run to build like a native hook or native package, they couldn't do that. So now with npm specifiers, they work the way you'd expect, except maybe better, because now you can do like -- allowed scripts so that you are in control of when people run random code on your machine. It's pretty nice. I would like to always be in control of when random internet code runs on my machine. Dependencies are cached globally and without a node module, so there's no need for package.json, although you can use one if that's your jam. But things get really fast because you only need to download like one version of a thing, and it's cached in your machine. So it's kind of like how NuGet used to work. I don't know if it still works that way, but that's how NuGet worked, and that made it a lot faster.
Cool.
And then also the security model still applies to all of these npm packages that you're installing, which is a big win.
We've got a TypeScript tip from literat.dev on Blue Sky. They posted, today I learned that using TSC -- trace resolution is very handy to get information about why the heck TypeScript is raising an error about a file that should not be part of the library, but's included during the type check. And I agree. I've used this before to diagnose type errors. So this is super handy. So hopefully this helps someone that is scratching their head of like, why am I getting this error? It's not my code.
That's the worst. I remember there was like skip libcheck was
Yes.
you commonly just throw that on there.
I still use that.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, don't tell anybody that.
Yeah.
But
well,
I still use it.
Yeah. Sometimes you just need to, and especially like when someone breaks their type interface, and you're like, you have no control over that.
I think, to be honest, I don't think you need it as much anymore, especially if you're using isolated declarations now. So I think I can move on from that trauma. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I can use the TS migrate tool to migrate.
TS migrating?
Yeah, TS migrating. That's right. Use the TS migrating tool to stop using that and use better TS config. I came across another really cool blog post. This is actually their first blog post, so congratulations to Daniel Perez. They blogged about typing MongoDB collections in TypeScript.
Ooh.
And I thought this would be super helpful because there's a lot of folks that use MongoDB, and because it's a Node.js SDK, I'm sure plenty of people are using the TypeScript version of the SDK or the TypeScript types with the SDK. So definitely go check out Daniel's post if you want some really nice tips on how he likes to type MongoDB collections.
Oh, yes, this is super cool. Like one of the tricks in here is using interface declaration merging, which is a trick that I use.
Yeah, nice. we've featured that trick here on the podcast too. This one actually I just came across. It was not this week, so let's just call it from the vault because we missed it somehow in February. It's migrating 160,000 lines of production banking JavaScript to TypeScript with zero downtime. So I saw this on Reddit. So it must have been previously posted maybe, but didn't get upvoted. I don't know, but we missed it. But it's a good one, and it's by Ben Howdle. So I think you definitely want to read through that. A couple of the tips that he mentions is that they maintained a separate branch while they were doing the migration. And then basically what they did is they renamed all the JS files to .ts. He had it output the dist files to a separate folder, and then they would occasionally rebase against the main branch to keep everything up to date. And he said one of the more tedious tasks was updating all the existing require calls to use the more modern individual import export syntax, so to ESM. I think one of the first TypeScript compiles I attempted had over 1,000 individual, mostly unique errors. In those moments, you just have to put on your favorite album and plow down the list. And I was thinking, this came out in February. I feel like right now, today, if you had to do that, I think you can make a case for like Claude Code or some sort of Copilot could actually be helpful in that moment, so that you don't have to necessarily do that, because really the only test it needs to pass is that compiler step. So if you have 1,000 errors, you say, go fix those errors. It might take a while, but I don't know. But
you might be able to write a code mod actually to do that.
I was thinking that too. There is, because we've mentioned a code mod before for Node.js in the Node userland repo, I believe. There's a code mod that will switch over require calls to import. Well, actually, I don't know if that's true. There is one that changes the file extension so that you can add, so it adds the .ts file extension. But there might be one that converts require calls. I don't know.
Yeah, and you could probably also do it with a dangerous regular expression.
Yeah,
but your mileage may vary.
I mean, props to Ben for just he was probably like, yeah, maybe I could look for that, but I'm just going to sit down and do it.
Yeah.
Ben was working at a seed stage startup, so it was a small team. He was the CTO, and so they were able to do it over a short time frame. And that worked for them, so that's cool.
Super cool.
Yeah, I think I also wanted to call out that they said the results were immediately noticeable. They said that there was a developer experience boost, and they just mentioned that productivity and happiness skyrocketed thanks to TypeScript's enhanced editor support and better refactoring capabilities, but it is missing maybe some specifics, I would say, for like what exactly, like if there was something specific that it helped with, I don't know. But one thing that they did say specifically is that the TypeScript compiler caught several bugs that had gone unnoticed in the JavaScript version, increasing overall application stability. So they got some immediate wins from that, so that was nice.
Yeah, that's super cool. You hear that a lot. And I remember working on some really large JavaScript apps, and you need to run it in the debugger to know what it was doing. Like, you couldn't look at the code and understand what was happening.
Yeah. And I mean, even if your app has tests, like tests are amazing, and that's good that you have tests. I think that actually makes it easier to convert to TypeScript. But
sure does.
TypeScript can still catch bugs that your tests don't.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Cool. I think that's all we had from the community this week. Plus, it's starting to get pretty late.
Yeah. So I have a couple cool links.
Yes.
I will share a YouTuber that I've recently discovered. His name is Typecraft, not related to TypeScript.
What?
But it's all about typing and like NeoVim and Arch Linux, which is my new special interest.
Nice.
So he's got a lot of great videos, and I'll just drop a link to his channel because I have been thoroughly enjoying his shtick. As a person who is like starting to wade into this, I'm like, yeah, this is cool. I'm gonna customize my Linux terminal, and I'm gonna be really happy about it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna take these old computers I have in my basement, and they're gonna be my main dev machine now.
That's funny. Oh, that reminds me, old machines and old technology brought to modern day. There's a blog post I'll share on CGI today in 2025. If you remember writing CGI scripts back in the day, they would spawn a new process per request. And back then, that was kind of like a bad idea for performance reasons. But today, computers are so fast that spawning a new process per request can actually be pretty fast. And really, if you think about it, it's like how a lot of serverless runtimes work anyway. So the blog post explores CGI writing code for today and how they were able to get, I think it says 250 million requests per second or something insane like that.
Yeah. Just write your web server in C.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
I think,
Funny.
what was it? I want to say that OkCupid was written in C originally. I don't know if it still is. I think that's true. I think OkCupid was written in C.
Wow.
I just think that's just a wild thing to me.
That's funny. I've also been doing some research and learning about local first software. So this is the philosophy of like you own your data in spite of the cloud. So you probably know that my app works in the cloud and it benefits from that because you can connect your gaming accounts together, and it can download the games that you play and can add them to your collection automatically and can just sync them in the background so you don't have to do anything. But still, the organization part of the app, I feel like could be local first. And I think that would actually make the user experience much better because then it could work totally offline. It could sync with the server, and I could also make that an optional thing that people can opt into. And that also provides kind of a clear like pay, like here's what you pay for. You pay for the cloud storage and all the server infrastructure that I have to maintain to do that. So I think it would be a pretty good fit for my app, but it is much more complicated because you have to deal with conflict resolution. So the essay is actually from 2019, but it talks about CRDTs, the conflict free, or what is it?
Conflict
replicated
resolution data.
Yes.
Something.
Conflict free resolution data types, something like that.
Oh, yeah. I've heard them called crudités.
Crudités. There you go. That's an easier way to remember that. But anyway, I think what people have been seeing in practice is that crudités are not entirely like free of conflicts, because when you have more advanced cases of like, what if you make a change in 3 places, which one do you take? You either have to build UI that shows the user, hey, I made this change. Do you want to revert to this other value? Or do you want to pick from, these other values that you tried to sync? Which one do you want to use? So you have to write like conflict resolution UI. So it does make the UX a lot more complicated, I think. But it's just something I'm considering. So I'm just trying to learn more about it. And then related to that, to the essay, there's actually a local first conf that's been going on, I think, last year and this year, 2024 and 2025. So I'll link to that YouTube, and you can watch a bunch of talks from people that are doing local first software. So you can learn about that.
Yeah, it's pretty wild stuff. Like I've seen like people running like SQLite databases in the browser to store it. And actually that works really well because then you can just sync a SQLite database up to the cloud.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. It's kind of what I'm thinking for maybe what I could do. So we'll see. If you like sort of like Obsidian software model, that's kind of what they're modeled after, because Obsidian Sync, or whatever they call it, is a separate service that they offer, but pretty much you can use all of Obsidian for all of your note taking for free.
Yeah. And, honestly, if you have an app idea that involves like content creation in some way or like authoring in some way, I feel like this is a really great like pattern for you to adopt.
Yep. Cool. Well, that's all I got.
I think that's all I got. It's a show and it's 11:30 here.
Yeah, you better get to sleep.
Because it's precious and I have a spicy toddler.
Yeah, hope she can sleep better tonight.
God bless.
Yeah, and we've got time zone issues of our own because we're behind, right? So when my son usually wakes up at 6:30, now he's waking up at like 5:30 here in Colorado.
Yep, I know that feel. Yeah.
Yeah, so wish me luck, everybody.
Yeah, right. I've been living that life for 2 months.
The parent life.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Cool. We'll see you guys later.
See you next time. Bye.
Hi, everyone. This is Kamran. I just wanted to thank you for listening to the show, and we hope you enjoyed the episode. If you want to see the show notes, you can check your podcast player or go to typescript.fm, where you'll see a list of all the episodes. If you enjoyed the show, tell your friends, and please rate it on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, because that's how the show grows and gets discovered by more people. If you want to suggest news or a project that should be covered, or just want to say hi, email us at feedback@typescript.fm. If you want to follow us on social, we're both active on Blue Sky. I'm at comronigus.com and Eric is at ericonerheim.com. You can also follow the show directly at typescript.fm.